pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, tonight's meeting is, first part of it will be with our town board. Go over some of the ambulance things that we got problems and stuff that we can't rectify. And then, after we get done with that, then we'll have our regular commissioner meeting here after that. Pay the bill. Find my pen. Some of the issues that we've been having with paid staff here has just been wild. Sleeping during the day, not doing what they should, not doing rig checks, not restocking the ambulances. And it's been going on for too long now. We gotta come up with an answer for it. Anybody got anything to add over there to it?
Basically, it's just becoming an everyday issue with paid staff. We're not making any grounds with them wanting to work here, be here. Everything's an issue, everything's a complaint, to the point now where it's being elevated, I guess you would say. So I think it's time to act, whether we want to keep them and move forward with something else. I mean, once we discuss that, then we can, as a group, we need to talk about the proposal that was sent to us last month for your proposed coverage for the district.
Right. Should be one of those copies in your packet there. I give you all. You guys do one or you got one? Everybody got one? I got extra ones.
That one is, I didn't know if you wanted to hear one of them. Yes, I got one. It was in the back.
That's fine. The sheets of paper that we just handed out to the board members that they had at the last meeting was just kind of a rough thing to do with the town hiring our own people rather than going through Finger Lakes and hiring them through that. This is using our own help. About basically what it is. It's hiring a chief EMT, an assistant chief, and then our regular EMTs for 84 hours a week.
So just so everybody understands, by going that route and hiring them through the town as town employees, one of the biggest issue we're having with the contracted employees is we can't get them to do anything during the day. You can't get any of your daily tasks done. Basically, we're paying them to sit here and sleep all day. And when you go through their chain of command, nothing's being done to rectify any of our issues or concerns.
Right.
By going through as a town employee, we have more control over what's being done on a daily basis to make them more productive for the town. Correct?
Right.
So
that's why we did come up with this a little bit. This still needs to be hashed out. There's still some things on here that I'm sure not quite happy with. We got to figure out. What we did was we were thinking about hiring a chief EMT, which would run the whole show, scheduling, everything. And that would be like $17 an hour for 12 hours a week. We keep all these people down underneath, we part-time, and then we don't have to pay a lot of money. Don't have to go full-time benefits or anything like that. So we was thinking of doing that, hiring a chief for 12 hours a week, which would be like $204 and $17. We'd also give them an assistant chief to kind of help out with a little bit, because that's a lot of work. Trust me, it's a lot of work. And that one we pay like $14.50 an hour, right now anyway. And that would be 12 hours a week. And that would be $174 a week. And then we would hire just the regular EMTs, $13 an hour, and that would be for 60 hours a week. That would be $780 a week for them. So a subtotal for an 84-hour week would be $1,158 a week. And then Dave's got a payroll factor in here of 1.15, which raises that to $1,332 a week. So you add that up by 52 years, that's $69,264. Yeah, whatever. We're close. Everybody knows what I mean.
Give or take a few hours.
Yeah.
That's for 52 years.
Yeah. And before, we was gonna utilize CBAS EMTs 12 hours and give them a reimbursement, but we found out that we can't do reimbursements. So that's part of a puzzle that we need to figure that out, what we're gonna do for drivers. So I'm not sure. Any ideas from the town board?
I highly suggest that the commissioners contact Dansville. They are more than willing to talk to you guys on how Dansville runs theirs, because then reimbursement is completely legal for you.
The problem I have with that is that Dansville's gonna be different than us. You know, they handle, what, 1,500 calls or so a year? And so they split their money between the town or the village and the ambulance thing.
Yep.
We'll never be able to do that. We have to run by taxpayer dollars in order to make it feasible. I mean, we do bring in around 90,000 a year, but that ain't gonna make it.
But the thing you gotta remember is Dansville still uses taxpayer dollars on the village side for some of the equipment, and that's part of the contracted deal they have.
But they do not pay for it out of tax dollars or charge tax
Right.
dollars. They pay for it out of the revenue that they receive from the billing.
For the reimbursement.
No, for the billing. They split it 45 village, 55 staff.
Okay,
We're gonna go back to 50-50. That's just their revenue that they bring in from their billing. That's all they use. And they pay cash for their ambulances.
okay. So if we did reimbursement, okay, we could split our money too. Because the money that we got coming in, all we would have to go into another checking account, correct? And that wouldn't be taxpayer dollars. That would be what we would receive in the revenue.
Right, but you're asking for that. You still want to be, you still want it to be tax-based.
Yes, I agree, but they're still tax-based, right, for their ambulances?
No, it's paid out of their revenue that they get from the billing for taking the calls.
Okay, so no taxpayer pays any money to the ambulance?
No, they
Okay.
have no taxes.
Okay, we could do that too if
You
our
desire
1,500, our, what, 300 calls a year versus their 1,500 calls a year? don't
500,
matter.
500 calls per year. I have.
No, they got way more than that.
They got way more than that.
That's what they told us, 500 calls per year.
Yeah, I don't believe that. But anyway, that's fine, okay, so, all right, right now, this is an issue standing here. But the issue that we really need to do is talk about what we're gonna do with paid staff. Are we going to keep them, or are we going to hash this out and run it with volunteers until the first of the year, until we come up with something?
My opinion, give them the 30-day notice. Be done with them.
Right, but we gotta have a plan, so, I got news for you, I don't think they're gonna last 30 days.
No,
I
they'll
think
be,
once you tell them, they're gonna be run.
yep.
Have the
Like
town
rats
start
out of
running
a
their own
ship.
EMT, so you can have an EMT and we can have volunteer drivers.
We could maybe do something like that.
and then you can work out the other stuff down the road, but we need to get control of what's going on around here.
And if you go volunteers, we're gonna go right back to where we were
Yeah, no, it's not all volunteers,
6 years
you know.
ago.
That's right.
Sometimes this thing don't get out when you got volunteers.
We're not talking about all volunteers.
No, we're not right at the moment.
What you're proposing is you want the town to hire CVS current volunteers.
No,
No.
that's not what we're saying.
We don't have
We're
to.
gonna put an ad in the paper,
No, we
and
got
we're
to
gonna
put
take
it, put an ad in the
applications
paper.
for qualified EMTs.
Right.
Maybe you'll hire some of the people that already come here, the good ones that are coming here to do it, and ones in near towns will come up. You're cutting your budget, you're cutting your taxpayer money almost in half by paying, you're paying $20 an hour for 2 people right now. It's $40 an hour you're paying, we're saying pay $13 for 1 person. And you guys are in control, towns in control these people to do the work around here and make sure the rigs are clean, ready to go. So at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm volunteering, I ain't gotta go put gas in the ambulance at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then put the oxygen tank back on it. It should be already done when I come in at 2 o'clock in the morning, I gotta go to work in the morning, my real
During your
job.
shift, you should be replacing them.
That's what we're having a
That's
problem
the problem.
with. It's not
When I come
getting
and work
done
out 2 o'clock in
by
the
the
morning, I
paid
gotta put fuel
staff.
in it, and
Right.
The EF was run out, it should have been done, especially going to call.
Right. It should be ready for the next run. Once you've been on a run, you get that thing ready for the very next run. I don't care if it's 10 minutes from then or 10 minutes before your 6 o'clock or whatever the paid staff hour is that they leave.
We should have the
It
cleanest
needs to be
building, the
done.
cleanest ambulance in the county because they're here 12 hours with nothing to do, there's no call. And what? You get an ambulance, it's dirty, the floors are dirty. Like I
Right
said,
underneath the
there's
seat.
half a tank of fuel in it, I drive a call to Rochester, I put fuel in it, I get back, DEF runs out, so.
This is a contract. You have legal recourse.
We've
That's
been there,
right.
and we've done that.
Then
And then they
put
sent
an
them a
ad in
letter.
the paper and go out for bid again.
The cheapest way to do it is do it the way they're talking about doing it, 1 person at basically minimum wage, $13 an hour for an EMT.
You don't know that unless you go back out for bid.
She's done it already.
Because they all have to make a profit, people that are bidding on these
So
things.
we have,
That's square one if we go back to this. This is how we got paid staff, is because the volunteers couldn't have enough people to do it.
You
So
hire
then we
police
did
officers,
pay
no,
staff.
didn't hire any.
we got 5 that'll be coming out of, their classes here coming up. How many do we got total, Wendy?
Right now I have I know I've got at least 10 EMTs right now.
Yeah.
I have 3 in class and another one who's trying to get into the next class is coming up, which starts in tomorrow.
So I think we got EMTs pretty well
The
covered.
CVAS part's not the problem, it's the pay staff.
Yeah.
Problem. We're taking the call, they know about taking the call.
At this point, it's also important to let them know that they haven't covered any holidays.
Every week, there's one
Bam.
that calls in, we have to cover for them.
Right.
Friday, somebody called in for the pay staff, so we cover for them. Every holiday, we cover both people,
Right.
so.
Did you contact Steuben County to find out what the workers' comp would be on these people?
You already
we
paid.
already covered
We
it.
already paid. Town already pays on EMTs that are volunteer.
On
Ambulance
volunteers.
is covered by ambulance, workers' comp is based on how many ambulances you have, not how many EMTs you have. We covered it.
It's a difference in
Workers' comp now.
volunteers.
So, we're here to hash it out.
I do have a question. If you were to hire out of current CVAS EMTs, you know, before it's been talked about where you can't volunteer where you work. So say someone who's already a current CVAS volunteer gets hired as your paid individual. On their off-tour hours, can they still take a call?
They have
It's not
to
a
wait.
different entity that can do that.
You can't volunteer on the same day they're on a paid shift.
within the same
That's
24
our
hours.
rules, but.
Yep. That may cause issues with staffing on off 2 hours as well. It's just-
Personally, I think the town needs to hire, in the first 2 you should hire the chief EMT and the assistant chief. That way you're making sure all your administrative work's done. But you can put it out to bid, you're not gonna get anybody and you're not gonna afford it. We know that. Or you can hire your own, you'd be in control of it 100%.
I think with any business, you're more likely to be in control when you hire your own people instead of subcontracting. Because even with equipment and everything, you get somebody else coming in here that you don't have control over. They're breaking stuff, ruining stuff, not taking care of it. It's in every industry.
You hire police officers, a chief officer in charge, same exact scenario. You hire your own people, you're basically in charge of them. You don't do what you need to do, you let go.
Is it a safe thing to make it a fact that there has been more accidents and repair work done to the ambulances with the paid staff driving?
Oh, yeah, there's been more definitely that.
So.
That we can prove.
Yeah.
You like that door 3 times.
But the public doesn't know that as a general concern, that is an issue with backing into places, residents. It is on the town yet for that damage.
Right. So,
Whereas we can't even reprimand that damage or ask questions because it's through a third party. A third party does not responding to anything that we ask them to do until they have an issue. And then they sit out in the trunk in the ambulance and let it run all day.
You get rid of 2 broken recliners that are shot, arms fell off it, and they get a complaint to the fire hall that our building's too dangerous, the stove's illegal, the food
They can
system's
leave
not
anytime.
right. All this stuff's been here 50, 100 years. Now all of a sudden, nothing to say.
According to your code enforcement, that out there is all right? You're putting your ceiling tiles back in.
Volunteer, we're saving $10,000.
$10,000, right? So, I know how the village board feels about that, at least.
I got a phone call today from the Department of Labor. I did leave a message for the man to call me back because I was with my daughter at a dentist appointment and I couldn't talk to him about a complaint, so somehow they put my name on it. So as soon as I'm able to talk to him, I will direct him to the right person.
No, you got to talk to at this point,
It's-
commissioner or,
Yeah.
I took their chairs away, and now they're broken.
Wendy, did I hear they made a formal report to the Department of Labor?
I have a message from Joe Sobel from the Department of Labor, Public Employee Safety and Health Bureau about a complaint that was made. They want to actually come here and tour the area and go through the complaint with us.
Gotcha.
So yes.
would the board consider doing a chief and an assistant chief on the town's payroll?
Not I.
Nope.
We have in this district, in the month of August, 10 calls. In the district, I'm talking. You had 29 outside, or 29 altogether, but only 10 of them here in this district. You haven't had a call except for last night in this district in 18 days. Of those 10 calls, 5 of them required an ALS person on our rig. And it's always that way. 50% of our calls are outside our district, 50% of our calls are ALS calls. So what I'm asking is, as volunteers, can they not make those BLS calls